This is AKASHVANI, Bengaluru. Good evening and welcome to tonight's Yuvavani. Tonight in Yuvavani, we have with us Prathikshapai. She's a chartered accountant, and we hope to get from her some clarity on some schemes, some new incorporations that the government has done in the recent budget. Welcome, Pratiksha.
Thank you for having me here, Jyoti.
This government, since the very beginning, they have maintained that youth is one of their priority sectors which they are looking to develop. So in this recent budget, are there any new schemes that aim at creating or increasing youth employment?
Yes, Jyoti. As you rightly mentioned, one of the biggest priority areas has always been youth. Because India has a very good demographic dividend, which means we have a good amount of young population which can be used in a very nice manner. The human resource that we have can be used in a very creative, innovative and very good manner to increase the productivity of the country and to grow the country in economic terms as well. But somewhere, the employment becomes an issue because we are not able to do the match the following. The employers need employees. Wherever businesses and entrepreneurs we are talking to, we see that they are saying we are not getting good employees. So employers are in requirement of employees. There are good employees who are not able to get employment. So maybe a better matchmaking should be also there. And now the government has also taken some innovative and creative methods in this budget particularly, which in my opinion will definitely somewhere help to tackle these issues. And if I have to tell in a very quick way a background of what I am trying to say, the government has come up with certain schemes and packages to boost the employment opportunities for the youth. We have this very popular scheme called PLI, Production Linked Incentive, wherein we are saying you come and do some production in India and we will give you some incentives. In the same manner, the government is also having employment linked incentives now, wherein we are telling employers that you please take our youth on your employment roles and we will give you some incentives. So the government has come up with 3 ELI schemes. Plus the government has come up with 2 schemes, or I can say packages, which are targeted at making the youth more employable. And because the problem is that we have many youth who are graduating, they are getting educated, they are getting the best of education, but especially in technical fields, what you are getting educated as, that theoretical, is very different from the practical scenario, which is why the youth is not becoming employable. They are unemployable, whereas they are eligible for an employment, but they are finding it difficult to face the practical employment scenario. So the government has targeted this shortcoming as well and tried to plug it by having 2 schemes wherein the youth is made more employable. And then there we have one scheme which facilitates better participation of women workforce. Of course, when we are going to discuss it, I will tell more about it. Then we have 2 schemes which provide the financial assistance for students who want to take up certain type of skilling loans or education loans and upgrade themselves.
So let's start with these employment-linked schemes that you talked about. Tell us more about them.
Basically, there are 3 ELI schemes announced by the government in this budget. Let us discuss it one by one. So the first ELI scheme is for first-time employees because, as I said, this is targeted towards the youth. So those people who are entering the workforce in any sector for the first time. And what will happen in all these formal sectors, whoever is registered under the EPFO, the government will do a direct benefit transfer of 1 month salary Okay, they are telling the employers that you please place our youth on your employment roles. We will do a direct benefit transfer of 1 month salary in 3 installments. Now, how much? If a person gets package of 2 lakhs per month, will the government give 2 lakhs? No. Eligibility for this is a salary of up to 1 lakh rupees per month. The government will reimburse up to a limit of 15,000 rupees. Now, if your first salary is 20,000 rupees, 60,000 rupees, 75,000 rupees, or 1 lakh rupees, you are eligible under this, but the government will reimburse 1 month salary up to the limit of 15,000 rupees, and it will not be a single transfer, it will be a transfer in 3 installments. The finance minister announced that almost 2 crore 10 lakh youth will be benefited out of this arrangement. Now, the second scheme under ELI is job creation in manufacturing sector. We know that manufacturing is a pet sector of the government with programs like Make in India and the PLI schemes. So, of course, the government in this employment linked incentive, they have specifically focused even on job creation in manufacturing sector. Here, the incentive is for additional employment in manufacturing sector towards employment of first-time employees, which means it is for the youth. Now, here in the manufacturing sector, they are saying we will give incentive to both employer as well as employee for their contribution towards the EPFO in specified scale for the first 4 years. So, whatever is the contribution towards EPFO, for the first 4 years, they will be giving some sort of an incentive in some specified scale. Now, this is, as per the finance minister, expected to benefit around 30 lakh youth as well as their employers. Now, coming to scheme number 3, this is a support for employers in all sectors. Now, scheme 2 was specific to manufacturing sector, whereas scheme 3 is support to employers in all sectors. Basically, this is an employer focused scheme, and they are providing an incentive for additional employment in all sectors, and the eligibility under this scheme is a salary up to 1 lakh per month. Now, what will the government do over here? What is the incentive? The government will reimburse employers up to rupees 3,000 per month for 2 years towards the EPFO contribution of such additional employees. If you notice, for the manufacturing sector, the government is going to incentivize employers as well as employees for their contribution towards EPFO for the first 4 years. Whereas in all other sectors put together, the government will incentivize and reimburse the employers only, and that too only 3,000 per month for 2 years towards the EPFO contribution of such additional employees. Now again, as per the announcement by FM, this scheme is expected to incentivize additional employment for around 50 lakh people, which means the employers will take advantage of this scheme, and this can help around 50 lakh youth.
In this 21st century, there is a premium on knowledge and skills. Pratiksha, you earlier mentioned that although we might have quite a number of educated youth, but education doesn't necessarily translate into employability. So what is government doing for that, for upskilling the youth?
You're absolutely right, Jyoti. We have youth, we have educated youth, we have youth who have had a good amount of higher education, but they are unemployable, which means they might be very intelligent, or they might be very creative in their theoretical studies, and they would have graduated with flying colors, but once this youth maybe joins an employment, they are not able to cope up with the practical scenarios. So when we plug this issue, a lot of employment issues also get corrected in that area. So definitely the government wants to plug these sort of shortcomings. So the government has come up with 2 schemes over here, or 2 packages I can tell. The first one is skilling programs. Basically, in many technical fields, like for example, I'm a chartered accountant, and when I underwent my course, I had to work under a CA for 3 years as an internship. Now, what is the outcome of that? Is that for 3 years, as a student, we are exposed to all the practical scenarios and we get to know how the work is done. So you are not an employee, you are not expected to know everything, but you are an intern, which means you are expected to learn. Okay, and that makes us more employable. Now in the skilling program, the first scheme is skilling program within this, wherein the government is going to do skill development in collaboration with the state government and the industry, because many technical courses require a lot of skill development courses within them, which the government is now targeting. So basically, the finance minister said that 1,000 industrial training institutes will be upgraded with hub and spoke arrangement with outcome orientation. So basically, they are not just going to do some sort of skill development. It will be aligned with what is the outcome of it. It will be aligned with the outcome orientation, and the course content and the design of the course will be as per the requirement of skill needs of the industry. So tomorrow when these students graduate out of these skill development courses, they will be appropriately employable by those industries. Because you see, I told, right, these skill development programs will be in collaboration with the state government and the industry. So there will be a discussion with the industry as to what type of skills you want in your employees. You tell us, and on that basis we will design the course and we will develop the skill set of the youth. And when they graduate out of these skill development programs, they will be as per the requirements of the industry, and whatever the new emerging sectors are there, for such sectors also new content will be designed as per whatever the industry wants. As per the finance minister, around 20 lakh youth will be trained over a 5-year period, and these 20 lakh youth will be appropriately employable in those specific industries. Now this was regarding skill development. Now the next scheme, which again is targeted towards making the youth more employable, are internship opportunities. And I think a lot of youth may take a good advantage of this particular scheme, which is a 12-month internship at top 500 companies to give an exposure to real life business environment. Now here again, in many technical fields, we see that by the final year these kids have placement opportunities and they get placed, but they may not be aptly employable. So what the government is suggesting is that with the help of top 500 companies in India, we will provide a 12-month internship opportunity for the students. So after your final year, for a 12-month period, which is a 1-year period, the students will get to work with top 500 companies and be exposed to real life practical business environment. So what is the benefit of this is that in that 12-month period, these people are not employees. They are not expected to know everything. And neither are they completely students because they have finished their graduation. So they are in that intern period where, they can make mistakes, they can learn as well as earn along with learning, because they will also have a stipend, which I will tell now. So here, the internship for whatever that 12-month period, the government will incentivize with a stipend of 5,000 per month and a one-time assistance of rupees 6,000 for these students. Now, the outcome of this, let me tell you, once these students do a 12-month internship at these top 500 companies, it is benefiting the students to learn from the top 500 companies. On the other hand, it is also benefiting these companies because they will also, in 1-year period, the company will also know who is the creme of these students, and they can keep those students as full-time employees also later on. Now, say there are some students who don't get picked at the end of 12-month period, worst case scenario. Of course, in the bunch of a group of students, the company will pick some as their full-time employees and some will be not taken up. Even those students who are not picked will be at an advantage because at least they will get a certificate of the internship that they've done 12-month internship at a top company in India. And with that certificate, they also can get employment somewhere else. So it is a win-win scenario for both the students as well as the companies, because the companies also don't have to directly go to college and place the students on the basis of marks card, but they will look at their performance and then place them. plus the government will be giving a stipend of 5,000 per month and 6,000 of one time assistance. Now comes the another advantage in this, and the companies have to bear training cost of these students, because see, the training will be company specific. When we are saying top 500 companies, the working style, the working manner will not be same, of course. So the companies have to look after training these students, and they have to bear the training cost, and they have to provide 10% of the internship cost. Now, of course, the government will not give these interns to the companies for free, right? The companies have to bear training cost plus 10% of the internship cost. But they can give out these funds from their CSR funds. So, of course, they had to give out CSR for some or the other activity, for any corporate social responsibility related activity. Now they can use these funds for training their own potential employees. So again, that is a win-win situation for the companies as well, where they can use their CSR funds to train these students and get good trained employable employees at the end of every year. And even in a case where a student works for 12 months but does not get employed, firstly the student gets a certificate, and of course on the other hand the company will also have got a good human resource support for 12 months at least, even if that student is not found to be capable enough to be an employee. So overall, I feel this is a very good arrangement, wherein the government is also providing support, students are also getting internship opportunities, and at the end of that 1 year, whether they get employed or not, they will definitely have better opportunities rather than just graduating from the college. And also the companies can look at the performance and then take in employees and use their CSR funds indirectly for their own benefit. And the finance minister mentioned that this particular arrangement will benefit 1 crore youth in the next 5 years. Basically, this budget, no, Jyoti, since it is the first budget of this entire term, so what happens in this budget is they sort of set the tune for the next 5 years.
Thank you, Pratiksha. By utilizing these upskilling and internship programs, I really think it'll make a great difference to our young workforce for our country. Now, talking about this government's priorities, we are hearing these days on almost all the platforms that we are poised to become third largest economy very soon. Now, for a third largest economy in the whole wide world, 50% of the population cannot simply be discounted. I'm talking about women. Every country has its problems. We have our own cultural problems. We still see in 21st century a lot of women quitting their jobs, maybe at the time of marriage, maybe at the time of childbirth. So what has this budget provided for women?
You are absolutely right, Jyoti. India having a good demographic dividend, we have to make optimum usage of every individual in the age group of 18 to 60. And of course, this age group involves both the genders. Women, as per statistics, are generally seen to be quitting at the time of marriage or at the time of childbirth, or any issue comes up in the family. First, the woman quits the job. So there has to be done something to plug this loophole by making the work environment better, and better in the sense better in terms of safety, better in terms of facilities for the women, so that it is more easier for a woman to be at job despite the various milestones in her life. So in this budget, there is one scheme which aims to facilitate better participation of women in the workforce. So firstly, the government has suggested setting up working women hostels in collaboration with the industry. So basically, for working women, if they are away from their towns, or there is not too much details, but I also hope that it also means that where women have to work late, there is some sort of a staying facility which the government has suggested, or rather announced. And then there is establishing creches, because one of the major milestones when a woman quits is at the time of childbirth. They have announced that they will establish creches, which means generally a kid area wherein the kids can be looked after when the mother is working, and the mother can also every now and then have a look at her kid, and there is no requirement to quit the job because someone is not there to look after the kid at home, or certain such obligations in respect to the kids.
You also mentioned something about loans that the government has announced for upskilling and education of youth. Could you explain them?
Sure, Jyoti. And now finally we come to the last two schemes wherein the government is sort of providing some sort of financial assistance for those students who are looking at either upskilling or who are looking at higher education. So scheme number 7 is skilling loans. So basically the model skill loan scheme is to be revised to facilitate loans up to rupees 7 lakhs. Now the thing over here, what is the incentive, is that the guarantee will be provided from a government promoted fund. So the person taking the loan need not have a guarantor as such. And this particular skilling loans is expected to help 25,000 students every year, because if a student has a particular skill set which he or she needs to upgrade, then they can make use of this particular skilling loan and get that done. Coming to the last scheme in the employment area, it is the education loans. Now, if any youth is not eligible for any benefit under any government schemes and policies, then they will get benefit under this scheme particularly. So here under this particular education loan scheme, the eligible students will get education loan up to rupees 10 lakh for their higher education in a domestic institution. So if you can see within this one sentence, the government has said that we will provide you financial assistance up to rupees 10 lakh for your higher education, provided you avail that higher education in a domestic institution. So we are somewhere, also trying to retain the students within India and try to regulate that outflow of students who go out for higher education. Now, what is the benefit in this scheme is that this scheme will provide an annual interest subvention of 3% of the loan amount. Now, for example, interest subvention means, say the education loan, for example, is at 8%. These eligible students will get minus 3%, which means they will get it at 5%. Under this scheme, e-vouchers will be given directly to the eligible students, and as per the finance minister's announcement, 1 lakh student will benefit out of this every year.
Thank you so much, Pratiksha. It was quite an eye-opener. I hope the youth themselves research, understand their eligibility and make use of these schemes.
Absolutely, Jyoti. I think there are these government policies, but the eligible people are not aware. Whatever 8 schemes I mentioned, I will request the students and the youth to see what is applicable to them and make full use of that, because ultimately, forget about the employment data or percentage. Even the student who gets benefited, his entire life will be changed, his family's life will be changed. So there is support from the government. I will urge the youth to understand it and get employed and turn around their life.
Thank you, Pratiksha.
Thank you, Jyoti.
You were listening to Yuvavani. Tonight, we presented an interview with Chartered Accountant Prathikshapai, in which she detailed some schemes introduced in the Budget 2024 aimed at providing better education, training, and financial aid to the country's youth to improve their chances at better employment. This program was brought to you by AKASHVANI, Bengaluru.